So let's jump right into the message and get into breaking the bottleneck and the impact it could have for your shop. All right, so what's the bottleneck and why are we talking about a blame game? Well, by definition, the bottleneck is the slowest part of the process to which all the parts need to run through. Therefore, it's a limiting factor for a company that if you can fix it, you can get more parts out the door and onto the next job. So, oftentimes in a lot of companies, quality or the quality process is blamed for being the bottleneck. But is it? Quality is typically a generic term that's frequently overused. And what I mean by that is it's often the documentation requirements from your customer that quality is responsible for. That's the real bottleneck. But let's address the blame game. And the easiest way to do this is by simply providing an example, and we'll see if you can relate to it. Let's say in this example, we're talking about a tier one or a tier two supplier, but it can certainly compare to others as well. So it's kind of funny. As much as we say we're in the digital age, a two-dimensional print is still predominantly how our customers get their requirements communicated to them. But typically, when a job is awarded to a supplier, a print will come into the system along with an order for a specified quantity of parts that need to be made. The print then splits paths, with one copy going to quality and the other going to manufacturing. Now, when it hits the quality department, oftentimes it's assigned to a quality engineer where they will take the print, balloon the drawing and identify the characteristics, put it into a final inspection plan, and then begin preparing all the APQP documentation based around those balloon numbers and the certain processes that are identified by the manufacturing team. So this information is then passed to the QC department, and sometimes these are the same people, right? But from there, a final inspection measurement plan is created, and the final measurements are often taken. A lot of times it's on a CMM or other automated measurement device like a VMM or ARM or tracker or something of that nature. So while all this is going on, the other copy of the print goes to manufacturing. Now, manufacturing will typically take the print and start identifying the operations needed to make the part. Like, for example, roughing the part in op 10 and finishing the part in op 20 and drilling it in op 30 and so on and so forth. So at this stage, they're usually also identifying what dimensions would need to be measured in process in order to make sure the part is correct for the next process and for final inspection ultimately. So, and this can take a lot of different forms. We have some customers that have told us they write the dimensions directly on the print. Others create specific prints for each step of the process. And yet others rely on their machinists to know and measure the correct feature to produce a good part. But now that the process is outlined and set up, the parts are produced and measured during the process. But then what happens? Well, in our not so made up scenario, the first time quality and manufacturing actually come together isn't until the part has already been measured on the CMM, long after the parts are made and measured in process. And sometimes this produces some potentially heated discussions between those who made the part and those who checked the part. But we find the biggest issue some of our customers have is collaboration between departments, or lack thereof. What if we could take this scenario and rewrite the process? Let's start with that very same print. The same processes need to be done, right? Only now, as it works its way through the company, the digital thread is staying intact because everyone from manufacturing and quality are working on the same exact information. The ballooning identifies all the engineering characteristics. Manufacturing identifies all the operations. In-process checks are identified. Data is acquired both on the shop floor and in the quality lab. All the inspection results are compiled into a final inspection report, and a complete submission package is created. Now, this translates into increased transparency within your company and ultimately drastically improved lead times. Here's one more quick scenario. Let's say you make this part. And let's say these 3 holes here are threaded and finish in the machine in op 30. So the machinist is going to use a calibrated thread gauge to check the holes after they're finished in op 30. Now, most companies will recheck the thread at final inspection. But why? Why not use the data from the machinist on the shop floor who inspected it the first time? Now, some companies decide to treat the final inspection as a double check, to make sure the thread is good and there's no burrs or anything on it, and that's fine, no problem. But for other companies, the process of measuring something in final inspection that's already been measured on the shop floor is time wasted, and it increases the time the part is in final inspection. So how do we do that? How do we break the bottleneck to get parts out the door faster without compromising quality? Well, the answer is simple yet commonly overlooked. The process needs to be automated. But when people think about automating a process, visions of robots and auto-load CNCs are usually high on the list. And why shouldn't they be? By some estimations, it increases throughput by up to 4 times. But why has so much attention gone into manufacturing for automation without addressing the true bottleneck, the quality documentation process? So at HighQA, we help to streamline and automate your quality process. Now, this is usually done in 3 phases. We have the planning phase, the production phase, and the reporting and submission phase. Please visit HighQA to request a demo and learn more.